Hey there, I am Harmony, part of the DJ World Beats experience, right here on hashtag Oui Talk Raw, with host Terry Hudson, brought to you by rBeatz.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to rBeatz. I am Terry Hudson, a.k.a. Dreammaker. I'm an author, speaker, connector, and a media host here exclusively on rBeatz. And on this show, We Talk Raw, we go around the world, basically, and we find people that are doing interesting things. And today, we're going to be talking to an international guest who is doing a lot of stuff in the rapidly growing city of Charlotte, North Carolina, and surrounding areas. She is a cultural catalyst, and she's somebody that I've known quite a bit. And her name is Milagros Ugueto de Sánchez, and she has multiple titles, and we'll get into those. But she is a multidisciplinary artist. She is an educator. She's an award-winning educator. We'll get into that as well as the CEO of her own company that she co-founded with others, including her husband, who actually is sitting in the studio with us today, even though he won't be on air. And his name is Keldis, and he is one of my favorite people in town as well. So let's welcome to the show Milagros, but we're going to call you Mila because that's what I call you all the time, right? So welcome to the show, Mila.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Terry. It's beautiful here. It's beautiful to be with you early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
Yeah, I
Not
love
as early
it.
as
But
some
I'm a
say.
high school teacher as well, so I wake up at 5 a.m. every single day.
How do you have the time to do what you do? I know I've run into you probably 4 times in the past several days. We've been at events together. And
It's true, but I'm on vacations right now until
okay.
Sunday night. So that's why you see me everywhere doing a lot of projects and just hanging out, because after Monday 17th, everything's going to go back to my
yes, that time
routine.
again, right?
Yeah.
There's so much that you share in common with my wife. You know, you're both teachers. Of course, she's not a teacher now, but she was as well. And she knows you both come from, other countries to come here and share your gifts. And something about you as an educator that I want to cover, let's just do this off the bat. You are the Cato Award recipient is at the Arts and Science Council. And tell us more about that, because you're not just an educator. Educators are great just by themselves, but you're an award-winning educator, so I want to go into that.
Yes, thank you for asking. When they first say I was going to be nominated and I got the award, it was through history. That was the category. And I understood clearly that, of course, I'm not an art teacher, but I understand that in my classroom, what we do is to highlight history everywhere. It is very important for my students to know their background. Sometimes they don't know it. They come from many places in the world. I teach an elective class. So I focus on how they were going to be immersed in the culture of the United States, knowing their own background and knowing who they are, their ancestors. And that's what I talk about with the Arts and Science Council. And I told them I wanted to be a teacher since I was little. And then I say, what if I become an artist? Well, I did both. And one thing comes with the other one. So I am a teacher, I'm an educator, I do perform, and I bring history through what I do in my classroom, in my community, everywhere. So I got the award, and my commitment increased, and now I know I must build bridges in which people know more about themselves through what I do. That's what.
Yeah. You're building bridges that, you. This is one thing I talk to people about on the show. Visionaries see things before they're there, and you see these bridges before anybody else, and you build these bridges. It's been quite impressive with the work that you guys have done. And with you, when it comes to history, you come from a country that's so rich in history. And you guys have such great things. You're known for so much music, art. You got the highest waterfall, I believe, in the world. The biggest part of the highest beauty, contestants come from this land, and just the history of the people. So growing up in Venezuela, how did that shape you as a little girl and a woman?
It shaped me in every single way. I still, now that I am an adult, I see what my parents did with me and how I was exposed to my own culture, going back to my grandfather's village. It's like a village. They still don't have paved roads, or they don't have like electricity all day long. So I was exposed to rural areas, growing up as they grew up, with people in bare feet, playing the drums right after the journey, right after they were picking or collecting cocoa, because it was a cocoa plantation. But then my father decided I was going to be the educated one, me and my brothers. So we moved to the city, and I grew up as the girl who doesn't like that, but I enjoy it because I was scared of insects, I was scared of the grass. But then I came back every summer, every carnival season, every Christmas. So I could tell that I loved being there. However, I'm a city girl. And I went to college. I started because I wanted to learn English, because I wanted to live in an English-speaking country. So I learned a lot about the British culture, the American, Australian, Jamaican. But then at the same time, I was interested in knowing about who was the most famous singer in Venezuela. And it's difficult to find that information, even though
Really?
people know. So you Google it, and they will always tell you about the same 10 people. But last night, I was researching with my husband, and I found out about famous artists, painters in 1793, and they were the son of an enslaved woman. And it's beautiful to see that there is just one portrait, and it was about a female. And I say, I loved having been exposed to all of that, museums, galleries. My country has changed a little bit in the last 25 years, but growing up there gave me who I am now, my personality, my strength, and my focus on where I come from, where I am, and where I want to go. So I want to continue promoting my roots, because it's mine, it's what I am, everywhere I go, but I can also understand that I can amplify the voice of others from other backgrounds. And no matter where they're from, it is important to be heard and to be known. And so that rural, growing up girl, then city girl, then I consider myself a citizen of the world. And now all of that shaped me, and now I understand that I have to continue creating spaces, opportunities for others. I had them. So how do I create them for others? It starts in my classroom, and then it continues wherever I am.
Yeah, and you're doing such great work. But while we're on the subject of your country, it's been in the news a lot this summer because there was a tragedy that happened there, a massive quake, and the death toll, was a lot higher than I thought. I was really surprised at that. And so, of course, our hearts go out, and our thoughts and prayers go out to them. And there have been a great coming together of communities and fundraisers around the world. And I'm sure they still need that. So if you're able to find a place that, and you may know this, that where you can donate, if you'll let them know that too.
Sure.
But tell us your thoughts on that.
It was on June 24th. And it was like a week after my students graduated. I said, I am officially on vacation. Okay, let's enjoy. Boom, both of the earthquakes took place. And I committed to helping my people. So we started fundraising events, but we didn't do like the regular bring the food here and we will deliver it back to Venezuela. No, we started fundraising through arts because we do what we know. And we know about arts and culture. So our friends and artists from Charlotte or living in Charlotte, they donated artwork and we did an auction. And we also raise money through sip and paint events. And so far we have raised close to $10,000.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, beginning on June 25th. So we will continue. I know it goes like, I mean, the energy to raise money, it needs to be high. And I know the need is still going on, and every day is a different need. And now we partner with an organization of teachers, and they are going to different places, not just to bring education, but to support them in needs they have regarding medicine, food, and recreation. My main focus, I always tell them, please bring them joy, the kids, teenagers, and that's what we're doing now. Today, we sent early in the morning $375 in hygiene products.
Oh,
and yeah, we still continue every day, thanks to you guys here in the States, in Charlotte. You are our community, donating, supporting, and I know other people are doing amazing events locally, and they are also supporting different nonprofits back there in Venezuela.
That's incredible. Let's talk about you coming here. What inspired you to leave Venezuela and come to the United States, and how was that journey?
Yeah, I love when people ask me that question, because when you plan living, you pack your bags, you get your documents, and then you say, I need something better. I needed something better in my life with my husband. So we moved to Ecuador. I don't know if you know that part. Initially, we moved to Ecuador.
I didn't know that you guys went there first.
We took a plane, and then we lived in Ecuador for a year. Then it didn't work, and my father was still alive. He was wealthy, so I came back to his house. I tried again. We found a job, but things started to go terribly bad again. So we decided to go back to Ecuador because the currency is the dollar, and I wanted to, after that, move to a place in which I could use those savings and then start a new life. So after 3 years in Ecuador, I loved the culture, and I got a very good position in my teaching environment. We decided that we could try again applying to teach in the United States, because I tried in 2006, but then my mom got sick, and I decided to stay home with her. So my husband told me, why don't you try again? And I say, let's do it. I applied. Of course, they loved me. Who doesn't?
I know, right?
And then I had an issue with my passport, because that is an issue in Venezuela, or for Venezuelan people outside Venezuela. So we decided to wait for the passport. We asked for a passport in December, and I applied for the United States Department of Homeland Security. They say, yes, you are welcome to come. And I didn't have a passport. And it was January, February, March, April. And I had 3 job offers. And some of them were in Virginia, others in D.C., and I really wanted them. They had, good salary, good environment. It was a school of arts. Imagine who was more interested than me in going there, my husband. And then it didn't come. And it was September 17th. The school year starts in August for teachers. And then September 17th, they text my husband and they say, back in Ecuador, your passports are here. So I immediately call my counselor in the United States, and they say, we have a position for you, but you cannot choose. You take it or leave it. And it was the place where I teach right now. It's been 9 years and a half.
Oh, wow. That's really great. While we're on the subject, before we move on, because I want to move on, obviously, to the arts and the things that you guys are doing, but because of your, you come from a country with rich heritage, what's one Venezuelan tradition that everybody should know?
Expanding the night to the moonlight in the coastal area, drumming and dancing, singing, until you get deaf. That is something we do on June 24th, and it's called Las Fiestas de San Juan, St. John the Baptist celebrations. So our ancestors, African descendants, they did it to honor their deities. And of course, they selected, I would say, St. John the Baptist, but behind there was the deity that came from Africa. And that's what they still celebrate every single year. Why would you like to be there? It's because of the energy, because of the dancing, the drumming. You see like 30 people drumming at the same time with drums that were made in Venezuela. They don't belong to any other culture, but they are inspired on drums they did in Africa centuries ago. And if you go to Africa right now, my friend, an anthropologist, he traveled and he said those traditions are gone. But in Venezuela, we preserve them.
Yeah, that's great.
So I don't know how to explain that.
And they just have to see the dancing. I mean, I've seen your other half killed. I've seen his feet move so fast that you can hardly see them. I mean, it's pretty interesting to watch and how he takes that. And again, we'll go into this when we talk about you guys and your performances. But it's so colorful. I can't wait to get into that. When did you know, or do you think there was a defining moment that you knew that you were called to culture?
It started when I was so invested in the Anglo culture in English-speaking countries. I knew so much about, because I was an English teacher. So in Venezuela, I am almost native, like English speaker. And however, here, I'm just a person who learned English. Anyways, knowing that much about the world, the seasons, currencies, history, geography, arts, poetry. And I say, how much do I know about my own culture and the culture of my students, Spanish-speaking people, like from Honduras, Salvador, Ecuador, or any Spanish-speaking country that comes to my classroom. So I started to share my culture. And when I did that, they found themselves identify with what I was showing. And they say, we do this in my country, we do that in my country. And I started to invite them to share with the school. At first, they were shy, but then I started offering grades. So they knew they were going to have a good grade. And now we don't do it just in my classroom for ourselves. We do it, we promote international continental festivals on campus. And then we take them to other spaces, like the WFA invited us to read their poems.
That's really cool.
They made people cry. There were 300 people at Rivalry. I don't know if you were there. I don't remember.
No, I wasn't here for that.
It was the Equilibrium Awards.
Okay.
Last year, they graduated. Now they are not with me anymore, that group. And they made people cry because they talk about their culture. So I say, okay, this is the right path. It's not about me because I'm an adult woman, but I want to pass it to them. I want them to be proud wherever they go that they have to open their mouth, talk to people about who they are, where they come from. Of course, they are here and they're proud of being American because most of them are born in here, but their main language is Spanish. And or their food, their traditions are based on their parents and their grandparents. So culture started in that form, in that way. Now, I said, my husband and I came up with the idea of bringing that out of the classroom. And then we started just designing some masks. And we brought them to different exhibitions, and people wanted to know more about that. And then we found out that there are more than 85 traditions around the world related to masks. So you see indigenous people have masks, and people in Colombia have their own, Mexico, Ecuador. Mm-hmm. And we started to gather some of those. It's not easy, but the ones we have access to. And now we bring an exhibition with masks when we are invited to any, gathering in the city. And we also decided to gather people who like to dance, not professionally, because traditional folkloric dances are not done professionally or with I would say attire that is so beautiful and bright.
Yes, connection.
Because when my grandparents came from the crop, picking cocoa from the cocoa plantation, they didn't have a uniform to dance. They were just happy to celebrate the crop, and they danced. And that's what I want to pass to my students. Just dance, share. If you know traditional music, dances, share them with your community.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel people will not appreciate it, but they do, and more.
Oh, to them it's amazing. A lot of times, because I watch the reactions. I've been to like elementary and middle schools where this happens. I've of course been to your performances, because you guys have them on the plazas or in museums and all that, and you're very, very good about getting people involved. Like they come out of their shell and they get involved, while you guys are playing. But when a lot of times it's the first time they're seeing something like that, and they're just kind of blown away by it and they're intrigued. I think it brings so much unity. It's really cool. And then we'll go into this because we'll probably have to cover this in the second part of the interview as well, because there's so much great time that could be spent on it. But you often describe yourself as Afro-Indigenous or Afro-Latina, and what does that mean to you personally?
Oh, wow. That is a question I have asked to myself every single day since I started. To see who I am, what I project. And I want to answer that question by first sharing this with you. This is for you. This is a worry doll. This is from the Mayan culture. So after we did our ancestry test, I found out, which I already knew because my mom was an indigenous woman and my father was African descendant. So I started to study like indigenous communities and tribes my blood could be from. And we found a lot of information from the Mayan cultures, the Aztecs, and Central American Tainos from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. And I understand that in those days, 300, 400 years ago, they did their, transactions. They navigated the rivers that connected us in South America, Central America, the Caribbean. So I say, okay, this is me. This is who I am. I am an Afro-Indigenous Latina. Of course, I am not indigenous enough to be identified as an indigenous woman, or I would say black or culture in black enough to be identified as a black woman, or white, even though my great grandma was like you, blue eyes, white, skin, complexions. And I started to understand that was me, and I started to live with that. And the fact that I decided to research more about my background, and I started to interview my father, but unfortunately he passed, and he took all the information because he was the eldest in my family. So he told me about my two, his mother and his sister traveled from La Guaira, which it was the place in which the earthquakes took place. And they settled down in the first free space of enslaved people in Venezuela. And then they grew their families. They grew up their families over there. So I wanted to know the name of the town, the name of the hospital in which he was born. No hospital. It was in a house, in a kitchen. That house disappeared. The town disappeared. So my commitment to myself is to continue, investigating, researching. However, I have some reminders, and coming to the United States, introducing myself like that to my students. At first, I just had predominantly African-American students, and they didn't understand why I identify myself as a black woman if I wasn't born in the States. But they didn't know that part of the history,
right,
in which we learn that African descendants were taken all over the world. Even I showed them some Asian people in Southeast Asia, their features, structures, everything, but they don't understand it. They don't process it. So we have to show them evidence. Our teenagers nowadays.
I mean, obviously, I'm married to an Afro-Latina woman from Colombia, and that's the first time that I had really learned the expressions because I had not heard it before. But I do see there's a lot of people that don't know about it. But the transatlantic slave trade, I mean, there was between Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking territories, there was like 15 times more enslaved people from Africa coming over there than even, in North America or the United States.
Exactly.
And so it's the same thing, when it comes to how things originated. But to come in, from such a horrific part, of history, the beauty that came out of that, like you were talking about celebrations and dances, like the cumbia dance in Colombia. And I mean, there's so many dances that have come from putting, 2 or 3 cultures together and how it came out of that from even the music, the drumming styles that came out of that, which we talked about earlier. But, it did come from I use the word horrific, but I don't even know if that's a good enough word, to talk about that time. But beauty did come out of that.
Oh, yes. And talking about cumbia has influenced the music of, I would say, 80% of the world. So there is Argentinian cumbia, Mexican cumbia, and then you go to Southeast Asia, and there are villages of people who migrated from Mexico to live there, and they brought the music. So Colombia is everywhere.
No, and it's just like all of the countries over there. I've been pretty amazed with it because, before, obviously I married into it or even dated into it. I didn't know as much as I thought I knew. And then I'm at every single, I'm at every single Latino event. It just seems like that's out there, right? That's why we run into each other so much. And the richness and the deepness of all those areas of culture, because it's like every country has their own thing, their own food, their own music, but it also, they interact a lot. Like they're one influence the other, and now you see those musics coming over here, and they're becoming huge, in the United States, and our population, growth here. What did we say? We heard in that meeting yesterday, it was like 33% of students now in our city schools are of Latin descent, right?
Yeah,
I think that was. Yeah, yeah. I think I'd heard that.
And 157 people move to Charlotte every day.
Yeah.
So they bring people from different parts of the world.
Yeah, and
cultures.
And the art we see in our murals and our museums, and we got artists here that have stuff in the Smithsonian now that, they come from, those countries.
Like
and
Rosalia.
Rosalia, yeah. We all love Rosalia.
Yes, we do.
But, and we could even say, Rosa Diaz, I don't know if you've seen this.
Indigo?
She has, yes.
Love
I mean,
it.
that's such a great thing that she does. But let's roll into your country, not your country, but your company right after we come back to this, because you guys are the most visual thing, I think, on the streets now, right now with live performances, because, again, you're in such great areas, and I want to cover that. And you got the best beard in Charlotte is in your group. So
of course.
we'll talk about that as well. We're going to take a quick break for, our sponsors and to find out what's going on in rBeatz and the community. But when we come back, we're going to have Mila still in the studio, and we got so many more great things to talk about. There's just such a richness of culture here. And if you guys have not been to Charlotte yet, for those of you who are not here, I'm going to let you know where to find her, because when you come to Charlotte, this is a crew you need to check out. Promise you, I've seen them many times. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Calling all independent musicians. Ready to elevate your sound? At rBeatz Radio, we're poised to turn up the volume on your ambition. Submit your tracks today, and here's the reason why. With rBeatz, you're not simply uploading, you're broadcasting your unique resonance to a global audience. Put your hesitations aside. We're offering you the golden opportunity to have your music reviewed and aired on our radio station, absolutely free of charge. You've pondered, perhaps even sampled the others. Now it's time to experiment with the finest. At rBeatz, we're dedicated to you. We're not just a platform, we're your spotlight, and your music merits the stage. Share your social handles, and as soon as your music goes live on rBeatz, you'll be the first to know. We're not just spinning tracks. We're cultivating a vibrant community of artists and aficionados who revel in distinctive soundscapes. rBeatz Radio, the stage where your music receives the applause it's worthy of. Submit your music today and transform your sound into a sensation. In essence, rBeatz your music.
Welcome back to Oui Talk Raw. I have my friend Mila in the studio, officially Milagros Ugueto, but we call her Mila because like we said, we're at a lot of stuff together. She's an incredible part of the Charlotte arts community here. And when we were finishing up, we were talking about, the Afro-Latina, Afro-Indigenous part of your personality, which I believe your husband shares as well, correct? Am I right on that? Okay. Mm-hmm. And so in that, it's impacted so many great things. But I have heard people say that, and even there were like students that would, tell Kerma that, but you're not black because you speak Spanish, right? And so it's knowing that, hey, this is same thing happened here, happened there, and so there's so much, that you have in common, but there's so much that we all have in common when it, comes to our cultures. I love seeing the uniting of cultures. I'm a big culture fan, which I've go to so many parties and cultural events with, all peoples and all cultures, and I see so many things that I didn't know growing up that I learned, but I recognize, that's been kind of used in this over here, or somebody has pulled from that. It's influenced a lot, right?
Yes, and we have been doing things a little bit different, partnering with Asian friends. So we dance our rhythms with their music, and that has been amazing. So that's part of the mosaic plan we are bringing to the city this coming year.
Well, let's talk about your company and what made you and Kildis decide to form La Casa de la Cultura.
Yes, it started with us being immersed in the community. We started serving since I came here in 2018, first invited to talk as an Afro-Latina, and then invited to serve teaching about my culture, Venezuelan culture, and Ecuadorian, both. I was able to talk about both. And then we say, okay, how do we bring more people to the stage, and how do we create spaces for them to come and tell their stories through different media? So we started gathering, and we did, even before having La Casa, we were given some grants, and we started to teach workshops in the community. And then we, with our part of the board, they say, we have to register. This is an amazing project. We have to register this, and that will give you more like presence in the community, and then you will have access to more resources. So we came up with the name La Casa de la Cultura because La Casa de la Cultura is a space in most of the Spanish-speaking countries which people bring their kids to learn about theater, about singing, dancing, playing instruments. So we say, let's use that name. That would be something to remember. I know people will feel connected. And then talking to our friend Manoj, the Indian producer, he told us, but we do have something similar in India, and it's called something similar. It's a place in which you bring your kids to learn about culture, about arts, painting, photography. And then we talked to friends from Vietnam, and they say they also have something like that. So we say, well, we are on the right track. And then La Casa de la Cultura started, and people thought because we were Latinos, that it was going to be just for Hispanic people. And they say, and what about us?
Right. And this is the part I love about what you do the most right here. So continue on that.
And we say La Casa is for everybody. So just bring your story and we will amplify it for you.
Yeah, because what you do is, it's not, like you said, it's not just Latino culture. It's all these other cultures that you infuse, because it is kind of a fusion. Like you showcase them, but you infuse it, into some of the things you're doing as well. And like you just said, what would happen if we, have I don't know if you said this on the air or not, but what would happen if we use these, our drumming with this kind of music or, whatever, or this art, this painting with this kind of thing, or these dance steps with this kind of sound, and that's so creative because you're fusing and you're almost creating something new, but it's like a history meets the future kind of a thing with what you're bringing together there.
Yeah, and it's true. We're going to be talking about our Venezuelan culture, but we are not a Venezuelan nonprofit. We are a cultural nonprofit inviting everybody to come and share their stories. And if you have a project and you want a space support, we will support you. Like, for instance, we are having our Haitian friend. She speaks Creole and French and English. And she wants to give some programs to the community, teaching people how to dance traditional Haitian music. And I say, okay, come, teach us, teach them, and then empower your community through giving them a space to be, for people to know more about who lives in Charlotte, who we are, where do we come from. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and this is we're in a growing city, rapidly growing city. So many cultures are coming in, and this is an unlikely city. They had no, I know they had no port, here when they started. It's like, how does a city become this big from nothing, back in the day, and to where it's growing? Like, you just look at the projections before 2030 and what's coming there. It's astounding, all the different areas that they're building. And when I'm talking to other cities, that's what I tell them about. It's like, you need to come here and check out, Noda or South End or the Iron District or the River District or, whatever. So many places, we could talk about there.
Yeah, and I have a plan because we moved to Sugar Creek like a year ago, and we are inviting our neighbors. They know the history, they have the spaces, but we are not passing this to the younger generations.
Right.
So we're going to create spaces, asking for grants, inviting people to Sugar Creek. Is an amazing area. And I want to do something like what they did in the East. I want to do it in that area. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the best.
Yeah, it's visionaries like you that they get it there. And here's something that's important about the way you do things, because you talk about grants. You don't just get grants. You have to know how to write a grant. You have to know how to network to a grant. You have to know how to go after the grant. And you guys are great at this. And I know you specifically have that mindset and you're able to go after these things. But we talk about this with artists. It's like, spend 50% of your available time on your art and 50% of your available time on your marketing, or some people call it creating your art, framing your art. It's like, you can create your art, but you got to know how to frame it to be attractive, and you got to know where that frame is going to hang, right? So that's the marketing. And we both, in the work that we do, we run across the people that say, I just want to be an artist. Well, good luck, because nobody's going to see what you do. The fact that you do what you do and you bring in, a multicultural aspect would still, as great as it is, great as an idea as it is, and the way it changes our city for the better would not be seen and not be heard if you didn't understand how to go to things like Creative Mornings and Network, how to go to the Arts and Science Council or the infusion funds, whatever they are, and get actual grants or sponsorships by businesses. If you don't know these things, if you don't know how to sell your artwork, and more education not just needs to happen, but more artists need to show up for this education, because that's the only way that the world is going to see it right now.
It is amazing that you point that, because there are so many residencies in which you can learn about this. We just finished the CEI with Charlotte is Creative. We did the Black Carolinas with the Harvey Gantt. We did the Love, the Energizer, the Bolt. And we did Bridge Builders. And we still feel like we need to know more, because if we want them to know about us, we need the resources, we need the skills. And storytelling, some artists say, I don't like speaking in public. Storytelling is your main...
Go to Toastmasters and learn it.
Yes, you have to master it. And of course, at first it's like, you're shy, but then you feel comfortable sharing. Right. And then when Charlotte is Creative invited us to be part of the Creative Growth Grant panel.
Which is a big deal to get in.
Wow. I learned so much. And of course, it was a beautiful, powerful opportunity. But as we were not able to apply for the grant for obvious reasons, but we were able to learn and grow as community partners. And now I can support other people. That's why we came up with a program. It's the first cohort, and it's called Cultural Management Leadership Program. And people come and learn from our experience. Yeah. And we invite people like you, people like Herma, people who have been in Charlotte for a while, and they know how things are done.
And not just Charlotte. Like, you're starting off creating things in Charlotte, but we live in a world now where you could have, and I've learned this because I sang something in NODA. Somebody called me on stage, had me sing, and it was like maybe 30 people in the room, but a couple thousand people saw it because they saw it online, right? And so I got calls and response from that. We know this from podcasting and the great growth that we've had through that. The art that you are creating in your area has the potential to be seen across the world, but you have to know. This is another thing I want to tell artists, and you know about this too, is knowing the future, not just the past, but the future of what is happening in your area, because that's where the opportunities you find out ahead of time. I have found what I do is, of course, I was involved in a mastermind, and we knew a lot of realtors. So I would go watch the realtors that were doing commercial real estate or that were doing residential, but kind of acting as a tour guide, right? I go watch them on YouTube, and I find out what's happening in the city 3, 4, 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. What the plans are. And then you start to see them in the news because these guys have researched this, mm-hmm. because those are the areas they want to sell houses in. Those are the areas they want to build buildings in. But those are the areas that are going to need art.
Oh, yes.
I mean, people come to the city for maybe business or something like that, or that it's safe, that they stay because of the art. They take the pictures and put on their Instagram because of, always say, the wings that they see on the building or some great mural that they saw, or even when we had the All-Star game that was here and they had murals painted specifically, for that. That gets on social media everywhere, right? Anytime some event comes like that, there's something that happens that draws attention to the city, that will draw attention to your art. But learn what areas are going to grow there, so you'll know, hey, they're probably going to need this on the bus stops there, or they're probably going to need it on the buildings, and get ahead of the game.
Exactly, and it's like people used to say, there's nothing to do in Charlotte. There is nothing to do where every single day, 3, 4 activities overlap. Sometimes you want to go to one and support others, but you can't because there are too many things going on. And
this is from 2 people that try to get to everything, right?
Yes,
and we can't do everything.
People used to tell me, you are everywhere. Yes, I am. And you'll see me more. And also, talking about getting involved, I see more artists getting involved in politics and getting involved in decision-making in the city. And yesterday, at that meeting that we were, they mentioned several times that they were like proud of being in Charlotte because it's the second more important city in terms of banking and finances. So we are in the right place.
Oh, and if you just know, again, the history of banking, how Bank of America pulled that off, the challenges that, the other banks had, but turned it around, and they, it's like, it became 1 bank, then 2 banks, and then 3 banks, that became housed here. Now there's more. And then, of course, the sports teams that go up here and the things that they're creating around what they're doing, so many opportunities. Those are the things to watch. It's not just watching the other artists. It's learning the business. If you learn it, your art will be seen.
Yes. And I've heard once, it's not about who it's about who knows who you are. So you have to be exposed a little bit.
And there's something I'll say about you. I mean, I've known you before I had a show, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And you've known me before you had opportunities. And it was because we saw each other at everything. And we knew each other's face before we knew each other's names. Yes. And we showed up at the events that mattered, and we were in the rooms. And that's how we have the networking that we have now. It's big, and whatever art you want to do, whether it's music, visual art, dancing, poetry, whatever. I think the reason we have rock star poets in this town is not just because they're great poets, because they're incredible. We talk about them all the time. I've had several on the guest. But unlike a lot of cities where these guys are so known, nationally as poets, they showed up at events where they started to recognize each other, and then they started to collaborate, and then the theaters and people like that got involved. It was like, oh, let's bring that here with the visual art and with the performing arts. And so that grew in an unexpected way as well. So
exactly.
I think we've definitely touched on something there I'm a big believer in. Yeah. So you spent all these years teaching at schools. What have these kids taught you?
Everything. First of all, I understood that I need to listen to them because they will bring what's new, what's trending, what's fashionable in terms of music, clothes, everything. Of course, I have my own style and I love it, but I love to see how creative they are. So they bring stories. Their stories are the ones that inspire me to plan my lessons, because I plan my lesson knowing that I have students from El Salvador and they love to eat pupusas, and I have students from Colombia and they love el vallenato, and then I try to use all of this information they bring to my classroom. They teach me when they want to sit down next to me all the time to tell me chismes, to gossip, teacher, what happened, my mother and this, or my father, and I'm like, I really have to teach you, and we have a lesson to teach. However, they are always open to sharing, and even though they are between 14 and 18 years old, they're kids. They're like young kids. Their heart's still genuine. Their feelings, they share with love. Unfortunately, some people are not like sympathetic with them in the same way. But I always tell them, have faith. Continue to be nice, kind, learning. I will say the biggest lesson they taught me was when they were able to share their culture at school in front of everybody. Even though they were like shaking, they did it. And I cried that day because sometimes you think you need experienced professional dancers and people to bring to school to teach culture. No, they did it themselves. That's what they teach me every day.
Yeah, I've been to many of those, and I love that schools do that. And having somebody like you at that school, goes a long way, as far as, even on that. Let's talk one more thing about your performances. For those that have not seen you perform, what are they missing?
They're missing being immersed in an interaction in which you are not the audience, you are part of the production. And they're always like, how am I going to do it? Follow me. My husband is a great dance teacher. So he will tell you what to do. And sometimes because we are Latinos, they think we're going to be like really like sexy. It's not about being sexy. It's about understanding the process of dancing, moving, listening to the music. If you have not been to my performances, you have missed interacting with others, bringing the energy. And what you take away from those experiences is basically the fact that you belong, that you do it in community. It's a communal space in which people come from different backgrounds. Intersectionality is very, highly shown in those events. And people come as they are, and you are welcome as you are. And even if people have certain differences and they have special needs, they are involved.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I love about Latin culture. Since I've been around it, is that in a lot of that, there's so much where you grow up dancing or you grow up involved in music, and a lot of times I'm not sure if this is just a United States thing or it was a South thing, because I grew up in the South. But when you would try certain things, if you look stupid doing it at first, you were made fun of a lot, right? So we grew up sometimes not dancing or not wanting to try to develop our voice because somebody that didn't know told us. I know that happens in, obviously, Spanish-speaking countries too and Portuguese-speaking countries because when I was researching Shakira one time, I found out she was told by one of her teachers she sounded like a goat. And, now she's one of the biggest touring artists in the world. So you can't, you can't let those kind of things stop you, or you can't let that become your label. But it is out there. And with Latin culture, I've seen primarily it's the encouragement of dance and the encouragement of music, and I've loved that. And I think you guys, you bring that when you're doing one of your performances, like you said, you teach them, you get them involved. You often say that art transforms culture. What does that actually look like?
It looks like...
And transforms communities.
It does. Again, it's about belonging. If you share your culture with me, you share how you grew up, baking with your grandma, or playing board games, which is not a culture. Like in Venezuela, we don't play board games. We come here, and I'm so frustrated because you do, at the breweries, you do nights of board games, and we don't do that as much. Well, I don't know now. I've been out for the last 15 years. And knowing how you experience growing up, exposed to certain things, and then me sharing with you how I grew up, dancing, going to the different celebrations in which people were expected to drum, everybody. So if you were born in Venezuela, you learn to dance before you learn to walk. And then your aunties and your uncles would make you dance even though you didn't know how to walk. And those things help us to keep in mind that everybody has their own bag of culture, ancestry. And if you are willing to share that in your community, we are going to be more, I would say, empathic, sympathetic in terms of understanding that we are different, but we love our differences. We embrace our differences. Right. And that uniqueness of everybody is needed. Because we are I like to say, like a small melting pot here in Charlotte. There are people from so many places.
I've learned so much from Ukrainians and Russians and Africans and Europeans and all the, Latin countries. I've can't even describe how much, that they have taught me, and all the parties are different, and they're all great. It's like you go, you look forward to it because this one, this is going to happen, this one, this is going to happen, and then of course you get surprised. But I don't know where I would be if I hadn't known all these cultures and been able to have this many friends that come from all these different backgrounds. It's kind of mind blowing, and you just. There's so many differences in Asian cultures, that they have their, different things that they came up depending on the country.
Oh, yes.
And you learn from that as well. And music, like I said, music, dance, whatever it is.
I can't see Charlotte the way I did when I came here. I thought I was going to be exposed to, American people you expect because you read on the books or Google, but you come here and reality is that you're going to be in a room full of people from Southeast Asia. And we were invited to dance at a Yalda celebration, Persa celebration. And you don't expect people to stand up and dance like that in those celebrations. Yeah. And they did. And they had fun. And they invited us again. They say, come again. And the same happened with some European celebrations that take place here in Charlotte. So we just have to open the floor, open the space, and people will come.
And Indian culture is huge here in Charlotte as well. Wow. We had Shefali on.
Shefali. Shefali has come. She has danced with us. She has brought her artwork to exhibit in our exhibition we do in December. She also donated for the fundraiser we're doing for Venezuela. So, and we are not just united in terms of sharing a cultural space, but in the need of the other person. So we are in need right now. We're going to support you. And that's beautiful.
That's pretty amazing. So what does success look like to you now compared to 10 years ago?
Success is so subjective. For me, has to do with understanding my own process, measuring who I was, and of course, accomplishments has to do with feeling, oh, wow, having that feeling. However, for me right now, success has to do with how do I get more people involved, understanding that we all have our egos and we all want to be or we want to show up who we are. How do I take all of that and make it a strength for my community? So for me, success is bringing more people together. Sometimes I understand others don't see it the same way. They feel like, why would you invite me? Why would I be there? Or why would you like to be with me? Okay, success for me is to have people who give me the opportunity to share them the importance of being together, the importance of synergy, and the importance of showing love. For me, love is the basics of everything we do. And after that, well, friendship, camaraderie, but yeah, success, having money, having a house, having a car. I think everybody could be successful in those.
Yeah, but not without the other, because I've seen a lot of people cry in mansions.
Oh my God.
You know, I've run in those circles and I've seen it. But if they have the love, which is a great goggle to view through, you know, I'm coming from a Christian background. That's one of the things is the greatest of these is love. You know, when you have that and you're looking at everything through that, when you're speaking in that, it has a different uniting factor. And then everything else is just kind of icing on the cake. And that love has developed through our culture. So let me ask you this. If, let's say if culture disappeared tomorrow, what about humanity would be lost forever?
The fact that we all have unique ways to express who we are. And not only in terms of folklore, cuisine, language, traditions, but in terms of expressing who we are. And
even religion.
Even religion.
Is a part of that,
it's a basic, fundamental part of it. Cosmovision, the way people see life. So for me, of course, is that part in which we come together and we share our commonalities and we start to understand better each other through our expressions. And some people speak smiling, some others speak serious, like they don't, straight face. And it's fine. And it's beautiful to embrace who we are. I love, that's one of the things I love of the United States. It's like you don't have to pretend to be something. In our countries, my friend was talking these days about beauty. You always have to be this way, that way. Here you come as you are, and that part would be lost if cultures disappear because you don't fake culture. You either are this way or not.
Yeah, and you can spot a poser, right? So how do people find you?
Different ways. On Instagram, I have 7 accounts, but I want to tell you just 2. La Casa de _La Cultura, and on Profe de Mente y Corazón. That's the account I used to share about my teaching lifestyle. Okay. And then on our website is www.lacasadelacultura.net.
Well, thank you very much for being here and bringing your other half, even though we put him in a corner.
Yeah, I brought some presents. I mean, I brought them, but he made them. So
I've seen his art. Such a big fan.
These are some postcards he designed, and this was inspired on Verde in Bad Bunny's album. It was like a reply we did to that art exhibition.
Like an artist response. How the museum does.
Yes. And this is because we know his mother is also a Black woman, and he loves, honoring, keeping the beauty
Yes.
of Black women.
And, you know, before we go off the air, let's just acknowledge that he has had stuff in the museums. You know, I've seen his stuff at the Mint, of course, and he's been involved in live painting there. He has, I think, a permanent exhibition or a permanent piece at the Gant.
Yeah, it was there like for 2 or 3 years, and then they changed it for Harmonia Rosales, and
Gotcha.
we love Harmonia.
Well, again, thank you for being here. Thank you both for being here. And, of course, I'll probably see you in 2 days at some event. You know how this goes. We're going to see each other. And I always have fun with you guys. And it's so cool that I finally got you on the show and that you agreed to come.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for tuning in. Go check our site out, support. You can see me on Instagram as well, Dreammaker TH. My wife says it's like King James English is what it looks like Dreammakereth. But it's the word Dreammaker and then TH for my name. And, of course, I'll be sharing things that you see of them and reels. You'll be able to find those on rBeatz, on Instagram as well, which you know, and, of course, the YouTube channel. Tell your friends to tune in. Check out the streaming services. Thank you guys for your support and telling people about us. And until next time, much love. We'll see you then.